Okay, hello everyone, a big welcome. Hi Dawn, how are you? Oh, excuse me. All right, let's zoom everybody in. I'm glad to hear you're well and you're okay. I'm just going to wait a few minutes and see if anyone else is going to be joining us. Carrying on Colouring in Fairy and Fantasy 2 by Christine Karron. I've got a cup of coffee with me, so I'm going to try and drink that and colour in at the same time. How was your week? Did you all have a good week? It's been raining today, so we've had a nice cozy day indoors. Oh, good. I'm glad you had a nice week. So I got the hair recipe that I'm going to use for her hair of Gemma Chambers art. And she's a self-taught artist in realism on YouTube. And so I picked the pencils according to one of her videos, her tutorials. Of course, I'll credit her in the description as well. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold, so I'm a bit hoarse at times. So we're going to carry on with Polychromos, and her hair is going to be brown. I thought brown would work quite nicely. I was worried if I did black hair, that the black hair and her skin tone might make her look a bit too pale. So I thought brown would work quite well. So I've got a selection of pencils here. We've got Nougat, Dyk Brown, Burnt Umber, Walnut Brown. We've got black for our darkest shadows, Burnt Sienna, and Brown Ochre. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay a base layer in the brown ochre, and we're going to go over all of her hair. And then I thought of doing the rose a nice vibrant red, and then we need to maybe give her a night sky background, because you've got these lights here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make these, I suppose, yellow, and over here on this side of her hair it's going to reflect the light, so it will be a darker yellow than the brown ochre, which means we are going to need more of a cadmium yellow. So if we take out cadmium yellow, which is Polychromos 107, and let me just add this in. Just very lightly, and it will show that the starlight is reflecting on her hair. Let me zoom you in a little bit more so you can get a nice good look. There. And then we'll take the brown ochre and we'll use this as a base layer, and we'll build up the hair from there. So have you had a good colouring week, a good colouring month? What have you been colouring? What hobbies have you been doing? So I'm just going to bring in that brown ochre into these yellow highlights just to help blend them into the hair a bit more. I've been continuing trying to work through that enormous pile of whips. So I'm just holding my pencil quite towards the back so that I create a light layer here on her hair. And again, because it's grayscale, we've got guidelines where to put the shadows, where to put the highlights. So all we really need to focus on is following the grayscale and just using our feathering technique to create those hair strands. And then we just follow the direction of the hair. But I will show you that as we build up the hair. Hello, Katrina. How are you? It's great to have you. Welcome. Does anybody enjoy coloring Mariola Budek's illustrations? Oh, I love cats. What color are you coloring your cat, Dawn? Katrina, I'm well, thank you. I just have a bit of a cold. But other than that, doing very well. Thank you. Glad to hear that you are well. All right, let's bring this up a bit so you can see as I go down the hair. I'm just carrying on the same thing, just doing this base layer. You don't have to be very quick. You can go quite quickly through it. Basically what the base layer does is it just removes the white of the paper and gives you a different color to work off. So it just helps to build those undertones. Yeah, Mariola Budek is amazing. She's great for practicing different skin tones and hair combinations as well. I do want to get her gnome illustrations for Christmas because I just absolutely love gnomes, but like those cute gnomes. I've seen people do rainbow colored hair on some of her illustrations, and it just looks really, really beautiful. Oh, yellow fur for your cat. That sounds beautiful, Dawn. So we're almost done with this base layer. Okay, so now we're going to bring in the Nougat. So what we'll do is we'll do from our lighter shade up to our darkest, and then we'll go back down. Sorry. And then from there, we will continue the layers. But because this is Amazon paper, we won't have a lot of layers, probably at least going once up and then coming back down should be more than enough. So again, we're going to use a feathering stroke, and you're going to try and stick to the direction of the hair. So if I bring this down, you're going in a flicking motion, just lightly, or you can use, initially you want to go lightly, and then as we build up the layers, we'll press a bit harder. Go here. So this section here where is going to be a slightly darker brown than on top because it's tucked under, and so it's creating more of that shadow. And then you go the same principle in the opposite direction for the opposite side. And then rotating the pencil just to help you keep a sharp point. And with hair or fur, you want to keep that point of your pencil really sharp because it helps to build up the feather, the hair strands. So if your pencil isn't sharp, you're going to end up just basically block coloring your hair instead of creating those individual strands as we get further along. Hello, Lion and the Lamb. It's great to have you. I'm glad your colouring picture is coming along really, really beautiful. Katrina, I am using Polychromos pencils. So we're just going to bring this up now. So I'm not going to have all of it, this light brown ochre. We're going to build up the brown. So with our Nougat, we can actually put this over quite a bit of her hair, and it will still keep it light enough while we add some color to her. So just lightly going up in the direction of the hair, and you can go up and you can go down. So I would suggest practicing this technique going up and down so that both ways you're able to blend out your hair strands. And then where it's got a darker grayscale, you can always press a bit harder just to maintain that grayscale and help you know where you're going to put some of your darker shadows. Oh, thank you, Lion and the Lamb. I appreciate that. Okay, and then in here, so again, just following the direction of the hair. And then we do the same thing on the other side. So here you can see I'm going down, but then I need to come up this way. But I'm going to leave this section here as a highlight. So I'm not going to bring this color in too much, but I'm just going to blend them into each other. So down here, it's quite a dark grayscale, so I'm going to go over it several times just to help me keep the grayscale. I don't really want to lose it, and it can be easy to lose the grayscale. What you could also do is go straight in with your one of your darker pencils and put in the shadows, and then go back to your lighter colors. It's just with Polychromos, because of the way they layer and blend, you do want to probably do that a bit lightly so that you don't end up having like hard lines. Okay, so in here she's going to have quite a lot of dark hair. So the highlight is going to be a bit less. Alright, so here on this side, where you've got the hair coming down here and then it's also going here, this bit here can be a bit darker because it's kind of pointing into a bit of a V or a small little triangle, and those generally are a bit darker. So at this point, you're really thinking a lot about where are your highlighted areas and where aren't your highlights, because the Nougat is going to go everywhere on her hair except for your highlighted area. Now, technically, there's a star here, which means that some of her hair here is actually going to get a very light tinge to it. So we're going to bring in the Cadmium Yellow, which is Polychromos 107, and we're just going to put a touch like that, just to reflect some of that light. So a little bit over there as well. And then we just color on with the Nougat as always. So what is your experience with hair thus far in your coloring journey? All right, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. The other thing you could do when you're watching other people's videos or doing color alongs is just make a note on a scrap piece of paper or in a notebook, the color combinations for hair and skin tone when you like the result, and then you've got it and you can try it for yourself as well. And that's also how you can build up different color palettes. So the trick with coloring hair is really just time and layers, and I find it actually very relaxing, because you can just do this and you're not really thinking much about it, especially once you've put in where your shadows and your highlights are, and then you just go for it. I suppose one of the harder parts is just knowing where the shadows fall and where the highlights go. And I suppose that could put one off coloring hair, or be a bit intimidating. It's like fur. I'm with you, Katrina. Coloring hair and portraits are a lot of fun. I think they're still one of my favorites. Right, so I missed this strand here and this strand here, so I'm just going to take that brown ochre and put in my base, and then come back with my nougat and carry on building up the layers. Wow, Lion and the Lamb, that sounds like a beautiful hair color. I don't stress too much, you know. Without grayscale, knowing where to put the highlights is really, really tricky. I suppose it can be trickier at times than other times. And that's probably why I quite like Anastasia Ellie-Caldereva's portraits, because even though it's not grayscale, she does provide quite a bit of line work, and it does help to know where to put the highlights. Sounds like you gave it a good try though. I'm sure it does look really, really lovely. Now this is still really going into base layers, so I'm not really fussing about hair strands right now, because I've got to build up more layers. When I start getting closer to going up my colors and then coming back down to my lightest color, I will then start to really work more on those individual strands. Okay, so that's what she looks like with just the first two layers. Now we're going to bring in some burnt sienna, and this is going to add that slight reddish tone to the brown hair. So number 283. Now I don't need to go as high up with this one as I did with the Nougat. Excuse me. I find with Polychromos, they do hair a lot easier than with Prismacolors. Prismacolors, you do risk everything blending into each other and losing those individual hair strands. Now, we're not going to be going for every single little hair strand, because that would just take forever, and I don't even know if it's even possible, not to mention super realism. So what we're just going to be doing is creating that impression of hair strands. I bring this down a bit more for you so you can see. And then again, it's just that same process, just layering it up on top of each other, following the angles of the hair, the flow of the hair, and you just basically repeat the same thing with each pencil. Now, when I had a look at fur versus hair, what I realized with fur is that it doesn't all flow the way hair does. Our hair tends to kind of flow more down in lines or with a slight overlapping of each other, whereas animal fur tends to have some crossovers, which I actually thought was interesting and also very helpful, because when you're doing fur, even though it's the same principles as far as the way you flick your pencil, the layering up, you do, as you get closer to the end of your animal fur, if you're doing, you know, wanting to do realistic fur, then you do need to kind of crisscross a bit over so that the fur doesn't look too linear. It's kind of like your eyebrows. If you go look in a mirror, you go look at your eyebrows, they're not all going in one direction. They're kind of going left and a bit right and a bit up. It's the same thing with fur. So are you all ready for autumn? Are you starting to enjoy autumn and all of what it brings? I think the coffee shops are starting to bring in their pumpkin spice drinks now. So I've done a portrait in Anastasia Elie-Caldereva's Mysteria, and I used Polychromos for the hair, and I created a black grey hair. So it's almost ready to go live onto the channel. I just need to add some music to it. So that will show you a different color combination, and I also show you how you can add some flyaway hairs, which I must say were actually a lot of fun to do. So I'll be releasing that one soon, and then the skin tone, which will be a different video, I used Prismacolor pencils. Has anybody gotten a copy of Rita Berman's Asia book? I'm starting to see people's colouring ins in the book, and it looks so beautiful. Some very beautiful colouring popping up on Instagram. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to a slightly darker brown, just to make sure I don't lose my shadows. So I'm going to use the Walnut Brown. And I'm just going to go where the grayscale shadows are, and I'm just going to make sure I don't lose them. So I don't need to go too dark or too heavy. So I'm using a light pressure. And I'd rather use a light pressure and go over a couple of times than use a heavy pressure and kind of take this brown somewhere it's not supposed to go. So when in doubt, light is always best. Oh, Katrina, that sounds so exciting. Have you picked a page you want to start colouring? Let's bring this bit down for you. I mean, obviously here on this side we're going to have our dark. I haven't tried Pro Color, I must say. There's actually quite a few pencils out there I haven't tried. How do you find the Pro color compared to polys and prismas? So if you look here on this side, you can see this side has a bit more shadow than here. So you'll have less dark brown kind of coming in here. So this lock of hair is falling over this bit here, which is why it's going to have a bit more of a shadow to it. So whenever you're doing hair, look for where you've got bits of hair on top of the other bits. So the parts that are over will create a shadow to the piece of hair that's under it. And that's how you can actually work out some of your shadowed areas. And the bits that are on top will also catch a bit more of a highlight. So that might help you to start working out where your shadows and your highlights go when you're doing hair on non-grayscaled pictures. And then usually where the hair is touching the face and the neck, it's generally quite a bit darker there. So I always tend to make that quite dark and in shadow. And then I usually use black to really deepen the shadows and just crisp up the hair area. So I'll show you how to do that towards the end of the hair. And then I would most likely take my darkest color on the bits that are really, really far away. So like here, you've got this bit kind of underneath that piece and that piece. So that's why this will be more shadowed. And the same here. I hear you, Katrina. Her Asia book really does look so beautiful. If nothing else, I will make sure I get a copy of her book for Christmas. And then we can start doing some videos on it. It'll probably be like my reward to myself for finishing most of my whips. Okay, so that was one of our darker colors. Now we're going to come to our Dyke Brown. And we're going to just layer up. Again, I'm not going to go into my highlight areas, I'm just going to build my midtones and my shadows. I'll have a look, Katrina, and see if I can find some Pro Color open stock. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, I must say Polychromos and Prismacolors are kind of evenly matched for me. I like both. And I find where I'm not in the mood for polys, then the Prismas work, and I can easily alternate between the two, and they really work well. So I mean, I think like if I was to be just land on a deserted island and was left only with my Polychromos and my Prismacolors, I'd be happy. I would have no need to for any other pencil. Not sure what books I would have though if I was on a deserted island. So there's an interesting question. If you were on a deserted island and you got left with coloring supplies, what coloring supplies would you want? Or if you had to pick, what would you take? So her hair is really coming along, as you can see. It's getting some color to it. And we're soon at the point where I'm going to start using a darker pressure or a heavier pressure and really just lay down the color and build it up now. Now we're going to go for the Burnt Umber. And just focus this on our hair in the shadows, in the midtones. And here I'm going to use more of a medium to light pressure. the paper is already getting quite a lot of pigment on. And then what we'll do is we'll go the opposite direction. And build up the tonal value. So it's just really just watching these strands of hair, because they're quite a few all over her body. So we just want to be able to build them up as much as the rest of her hair. Now at this point, I mean, if you were into your blending pencils or your Gamsol, you could use that and just smoothen it out and then go back and build up the layers again, and that would give you it would give you more layers, because you would have this all smoothed out and you could just carry on. And so that is a trick you can use. I don't use Gamsol or any of that too often. I still tend to let the pencils do the blending for me. But using an alcohol blender or a blending pencil or even Gamsol, it can help speed up your coloring a little bit. So if you're interested in pencils but don't want it to take so long, that is something you could experiment with and see how it goes. Okay, so now I'm going to use some of the black. And I'm going to use it sparingly, because black is really just for my shadowed areas. And my deepest shadows at that. So I generally use the black where it's really dark and deep shadows, and to just redefine where hair and skin meet. All right, let's do the top bit here again for you so you can just see, just up here. Down here. So then all along here where this piece is touching onto this side, and anywhere you want to just crisp up and define the strands of hair is where you're going to put some of this black. So this piece here is on top over here, so we just disappear that into each other. And as you can see, it really just helps keep those locks of hair from being lost into each other. Okay, so now we're going to go back down, and that's going to be us going with the walnut brown over where we put all that black. And now you can start using a medium pressure, because we're going to work on blending this out now. If you need to sharpen your pencil, So I just bring my hand a bit closer to the tip of the pencil. That will just help me to apply a harder pressure. Alright, so now again we go back down, we're going to the Burnt Umber. And it really is just the same process as you go up your colors and you come down. Just bring a bit of black in here. So even though Christine Karron uses Amazon paper, I think she used the slightly better quality of the Amazon paper, and you can really tell the difference between this paper and the paper in Nice Little Town 6 by Tatiana Bogema-Stolova. This paper handles a lot more layers than Nice Little Town 6 does, or even the Selena Fennick books. So It is worth noting that Christine Karron's books, even though they're not on high quality paper, the paper she does use or chooses from Amazon is not all that bad. And with the polys, you do get quite a lot more layers. So for those of you who are interested in the paper quality, it's just an observation I've had coloring this page compared to the Nice Little Town 6 book, which I'm currently working on, and I've been using Prismacolors in that book, which the Prismacolors work, but the Polychromos on this paper works really, really well. And then Gracia Salvo also has Wild Soul available on Amazon, using the higher quality Amazon paper, and I would say on that one Prismacolors work really well, but she uses a slightly glossy paper in that book, so that one I find works better with Prismas than with polys. That I haven't enjoyed the way the Polychromos have worked on Gracia Salvo's Wild Soul book printed on the Amazon paper. So just two observations there for you. All right, so now we're coming down to the Dyke Brown. And you can see how it's blended out that black shadow quite well. Okay, so now we're going to come down to the Burnt Sienna. Right, we are almost done with her hair. It's not going to take too long now. We've got the Burnt Sienna, the Nougat and the Brown Ochre left, and then a possible just touch up with the black to redefine some of these hair strokes. And now we're going to bring in the Nougat. Yep. Now this is going to go everywhere except for the highlighted area. So we can actually use quite a medium to hard pressure now and just blend this out. So I'm just doing the same process on the entire head of hair. Excuse me. So where it's lighter, I'm just going to use a slightly lighter pressure because I don't want it too dark. But where it's in the shadowed area, I am going to be pressing relatively hard to just smoothen and blend this out. And you can always sharpen your pencil just to help you keep those hair strand strokes going. Okay, so now I'm going to use the Nougat and I'm going to blend this out now. So if I bring this down for you. And I'll most likely go back over this nougat, the burnt ochre with the nougat, just to blend it out so it's not too yellow, it's a bit more of a brown. Because I'm going to need to put back some of those individual hair strokes. Another way you can color hair is to just pick one section. So you could do the top down to here and do it completely, and then build until it's finished, move on to this side. And so you could break up your hair that way, or you could do what I've done here, where I've just taken each pencil and put each layer down over all the hair. And then just on the thinner pieces of her hair, just go slower. Okay, so now I'm going to come back in with my Nougat, and I'm going to just deepen the brown, and I'm also going to alternate with my black because I want to complete her hair on this video. So I'm just going to alternate between black and Nougat. And then I come back over that with my Nougat. So black and then Nougat. And the Nougat. This is the black. So with the black, I'm also adding individual hairs. And I come back in with the Nougat. And the black. So like skin, I now would tweak the hair until I'm happy with it, going back and forth between these pencils, picking up the colors that I feel are lacking, and working with that until it's where I want it to be. But as you can see, there's a lot of tooth still left on this paper, so you can easily just carry on building the layers up and up. And that is where hair is both relaxing, and it can also take a long time if you're using pencils. But you can build it up until you're happy with it. If the tooth of the paper doesn't bother you, and this is you're happy with where the hair is at this junction, then you can just stop and move on. The tooth of the paper doesn't have to be completely saturated for a picture to be complete. Right, I'm just coming here and I'm just bringing in this cadmium yellow. Right, and I'm going to do the same on the top here. And just to show that these stars are highlighting her hair. You don't have to do this if you don't want. You can always just color over the stars and completely ignore them. I've lately been quite interested in playing with light sources and showing where the light would reflect. So that's why I'm choosing to do it this way. But you don't have to if you don't want to. Make it your own, make it your picture. So I'm coming in with some Dyke Brown because I want some more of that in here. So this is just the Dyke Brown, and I'm just building up this section here. And then back in with my Nougat. So this, I would say, is like a very light blonde, a light brown hair. You could do a darker hair tone, and it would work really, really well with it as well. It all just depends entirely on how you would like your picture to look, what look you're going for. Right, so I think that's her hair done. You can just keep tweaking it as much as you like, or as little as you like. So now for the rose, we will use, I think we'll make it a vibrant red. So I'm going to first lay down a layer of light cadmium red. This bit here and this bit here are actually the sepals of the rose, so that's going to be green. But we'll do all these other petals and we'll make them red, a nice vibrant red. Now you could use any color you like. You could make it yellow, pink, white. I'm quite fond of red roses. But you could even make it a very dark red rose, where the red is like a black grey cherry red type color. My grandfather used to grow almost black roses, so they were very dark red, they looked black. He had such a beautiful garden and he loved his flowers, and that particular rose bush actually grew really, really tall. And he also had like a arch in the middle of the garden, and on that arch he had these roses. They were a variation of roses that would creep and climb over and hang down. So whenever I think of roses, I often think of red roses and pink roses or white roses because of him. Right, so now I'm going to take a darker red. Hi Kali, how are you? It's great to have you, thank you. Glad you like her. Here's my dark red. So I'm going to use the dark red. I'm going to use a medium to hard pressure in the very shadows, and I'm going to build up my shadows. Remember, wherever it's the darker lines in your grayscale, that's where you're going to put your darkest shadows or your darkest color. And then where it's not so dark, you would use a more of a mid-tone. Thanks, Carly. Yes, I am doing very well, thank you. So the thing with roses is all their folds and their petals. It does create quite a lot of little shadows. So if you're just patient with it, you'll get a very, very lovely picture as you just put in your shadows and follow the grayscale. So what I will do is I will finish this picture off the live video, and I will upload the process as I finish it as soon as possible, so that if you are coloring along with me, you can have this picture completed by the end of the month. Otherwise it will just be taking until October for you to finish this picture. So I will finish it off, the live stream for you, and you can finish it in time for the end of the month pictures. Alright, so now I'm going to bring in a Permanent Carmine, and this is going to be in my mid-tone areas. So this rose is going to end up having a bit more of an orangey look to it than the color of her lips. I'm going to be using slightly different colors because I don't want it to be too matching to her lipstick. Absolutely, Collie. Grayscale really does help so much because you just follow the lines and it just helps you get it done. It takes the guesswork out of it. So for our next live stream, I will have a look and pick out a fall picture for us to color in. I will try and keep it nice and simple and easy. I've got a couple of ideas in mind, and possibly a Rita Berman page in Europa or her Zulandi book. But I'll have a look and look for a really nice full picture that we can color in together. I do also have Teresa Goodrich's, I think it's Autumn Charms. I've got one of her autumn books, so that is also an option. And then I'm going to bring in some Alizarin Crimson. And I'm going to lightly layer this over the entire petal, but I'm going to go over the highlighted areas or the light areas with that first pencil, which is more of an orange undertone. And I'll use that to liven it all up. Alright, so then I come back with my Light Cadmium Red, and I bring that into the lighter zones of the petals. And what I'm also going to do is bring in some of the Walnut Brown into the deeper shadows, and that will just deepen it up and help contrast our lights from our darks. There we go. Here is the Walnut Brown. So in the shadows, and you can use a medium pressure for this. Because all the brown does, you could use a brown or a warm grey, it will just add some extra depth. And then it will just help that colour pop as well. Okay, so now I go back to that dark red and I'm going to go over that brown and I'm going to use a bit more of a hard pressure here. And then as I come out, I can just lighten that pressure. Excuse me. And you can just go along the edges as well. Just depending on how dark the grayscale is on the edges, you would then choose the appropriate pencil. So here I'd come in again with that Alizarin Crimson because it's quite a bright red without it being too blue undertoned or too orange undertoned. And it will give us a nice transition into that blood, well, not blood orange, what was it? Light Cadmium Red. I'll be back in 1 sec. Sorry, guys. All right, sorry about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually call it a night because I'm about to have a coughing spell. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for your time. I will finish this page and I will upload it on the channel for you to complete in time for September's finished pages. So thank you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.